Alright, motherfuckers. Welcome to the Rant and Review of AEW's third episode. Now, before we move on to that, I just want to say something really quickly. Shout out to my fourth subscriber. That's right, motherfuckers. Earlier this week, yesterday, I believe, I made the video where I talked about how I have 4 subscribers, right? This guy, what was his name? Jumbo World or something? I forget. Rudy World? Rudy World, I think it was. This guy was my 4th subscriber. In that video, I said one day I'll have 6 subscribers, and that day was today. So we're 6 strong, the ridiculous 6, as I'm going to call them, after the core 4. We're going to keep on growing this bitch, motherfuckers. Nothing can stop me. Not even Darby Allin could stop this, motherfuckers. But anyways, without any further ado, let's get to the show. First match on the show was SCU versus the Best Friends. Now, I thought, I was wrong, but I thought that the next match at the tag team tournament was going to be SCU versus the Lucha Brothers, because they've been teasing that. Now, the fact that that's not next would only seem to suggest the inevitability that these two teams will win their first match in the tournament so they can meet each other. Now, half of that means that this is decent in that there's a rivalry being built. The other half is that it becomes predictable. And if there's anything that there's plenty of things actually that I didn't like about this show, but the number one thing I didn't like was the predictability of it, motherfuckers. So SCU comes out and they get attacked by the Lucha Brothers, right? Daniels is destroyed and Scorpio Sky becomes the replacement. Now, this isn't dramatic at all because SCU is already a 3-man team. So when one person is eliminated from battle, what's going to happen? The third guy is going to jump in for him, right? This would have worked much better if it was just Frankie Kazarian and Daniels. That was just a team. And then a third man comes and forms an impromptu tag team. The drama of it was lost on me. Nonetheless, the match goes on. Decent match. Nothing to kill yourself over. SCU wins. Kazarian and Scorpio Sky hit their double team move and they win. So that was that. Again, this doesn't matter at all because clearly it's going to be them versus the Lucha Brothers. So I guess the only other explanation would be they both lose their match and they have their own feud, but that's just unlikely because the Lucha Brothers are going to make it far into the tournament. Maybe SCU beats them in the semifinals, and then SCU loses to Dark Order, who is my pick to win this shit, motherfuckers. Then after that, we see Santana and Ortiz entering the building, and they fight John Silver and Alex Reynolds, who everyone has seen here and there as the perennial tag team jobbers. They're the tag team jobbers that, sometimes they'll do a couple of moves, but eventually they're there to lose. So that's what happens here. Santana and Ortiz hit their double team finish, which I believe, and I am told is called the Street Sweeper, and they win. Obviously, Santana and Ortiz are getting a huge push. They will be ultimately the tag team to beat in the coming months. Eventually, they're going to lose to the Young Bucks, but I'm pretty sure in the beginning when they feud with them as part of this Elite versus Inner Circle feud, they're going to dominate the Young Bucks, and it's going to come down to them and the Young Bucks for the titles eventually. Dark Order wins the titles, like I said, in my opinion, but if they don't, it's going to be a face team. If a face team wins, they're dropping it to Santana and Ortiz. If the Dark Order wins, then a face team beats them, perhaps the Young Bucks, and then Santana and Ortiz feud with them over that. But I personally believe that if the Dark Order wins, another face team is going to win the titles for a day and a half maybe, and then Santana and Ortiz will have a very long reign, culminating to them losing to the Young Bucks in the first big pay-per-view that AEW does, their version of WrestleMania, probably in about a year or so. So after that, we see Jericho. So that was kind of cool, Jericho. Not this element, but in the end, when Jericho celebrated, it was nice because they do the little champagne shtick in the end, but we'll get to that later. So it shows them celebrating. Then we have a vignette on Cody. I don't like this. I don't like how Cody's being portrayed as a main eventer. This is just foolish. It makes me think that he might actually win the title against Jericho, which would be a big mistake because Cody Rhodes is not championship material, motherfuckers. Jericho is the only one in this company that should be champion at this point. Next, we have Riho versus Britt Baker for the women's title, motherfuckers. Nothing to talk about here. Riho wins like she wins every other match with a roll-up or some sort of sneaky pin type situation. That's all she does. And that and a few stomps. Riho, I don't like her. She needs to, their women's division is garbage. Everyone sucks. Except for, of course, Awesome Kong, who isn't being, showcased as she should be. Awesome Kong should be out there powerbombing these broads and putting them out. Nonetheless, commentary lets us know that Daniels has suffered a stinger, which will likely mean that he will be replaced by Scorpio Sky, at least for the next match. Maybe he'll come back for the last match. Who knows? Next, we have the Lucha Brothers versus the Jurassic Express. Now, Pentagon Jr., or whatever the fuck he calls himself now, of course he's going to do the Cierro Miedo thing, which is played out. They need to stop that immediately. That's one thing that AEW sucks at, is like the emoting of the wrestlers. It's over the top and too frequent. And when I say Jurassic Express, the thing that makes this group the Jurassic Express is Luchasaurus. But we get Jungle Boy and Marco Stunt, it looks like. Nothing to kill yourself over. Obviously, Marco Stunt and the entire Jurassic Express really are just jobbers. These guys were never going to beat Pentagon and Phoenix, who are presented and portrayed as a top team. They had their matches with the Young Bucks, and they came out on top, their fair share. And obviously, they're a big thing now, guys, in tag team wrestling. The tag team division of AEW is pretty good. I'm not gonna lie. The Lucha Bros win with their package pile driver double foot stomp combo. Nothing go crazy over here. Then we have Jon Moxley. He cuts this little promo. It was a pretty good promo. He does this whole I want Kenny Omega's head on a wall, and reminds us that he is at the top of the pecking order, motherfuckers. So next we have a very good match, I thought. Pac and Jon Moxley versus Hangman Adam Page and Kenny Omega. Now, this was a good match, I'm not gonna lie. Kenny Omega, he's good, man. I can't say he's not good. He's definitely overrated, don't get me wrong. He's overrated, but he's decent. He did this. My favorite part of the match, honestly, was when Kenny Omega got tagged in, he did this slide kind of to dodge an attack, and it just looked very smooth. It was flashy, but it made sense. It was effective flashy, which is the best kind of flashy, motherfuckers. So now the problem with this match, of course, right off the bat, apparently today is Kenny Omega's birthday. So of course the crowd definitely Wikipedia'd him, probably to whack their bags, to jerk off to Kenny Omega, probably wearing his Jasmine costume, and they found out that today is his birthday. Or perhaps through word of mouth, or through transference through smell. Those smelly beards probably told each other, today is Kenny Omega's birthday, guys. We need to start a chant so we can look cool, and maybe we'll start a revolution. Maybe people will start chanting happy birthday to all the wrestlers when it's their birthday. It reminds me of the time when I saw Survivor Series at Madison Square Garden when I was in law school, and they had, I think Big Show versus Mark Henry was one of the matches. Everyone was there for The Rock, of course. I couldn't give a rat's ass about anything else. That's the only reason I went. But I think it was Mark Henry versus Big Show, and Big Show did a top rope elbow. It took him about 45 minutes to do it. But then the fans started chanting, Randy Savage. And that was the first time that chant started. And then now it was a chant for a while when Bailey would do it. Oh, Randy Savage. What are you trying to say? What? Randy Savage did an elbow drop, so you're going to just say his name? That's just stupid. Right? That's just dumb, man. Why would you do that? But not as bad as the happy birthday chant, which pretty much serves. Nobody gives a rat's ass that it's his birthday. They're basically just there saying, like, they might as well just chant, I'm a good fan, and then get themselves over. That's what they're doing. They suck. It's like that time on Raw when the stupid fans started chanting, like, we are awesome. No, you're not. You're not awesome. You're fucking gay. All right? So, anyways, typical Kenny Omega antics during the match. Very, 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 like, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, he emotes a lot. That's what I'm trying to say. This guy, every time he does a move, I hate to beat a dead whore, but it's the truth. Every time he does a move, he does a taunt. Every time he's about to do a move, he does a taunt. It's always over the top. It's always stupid, and it's not good. It's garbage. He gets by on the fact that he can wrestle, but that's about it. The match was pretty. It had some good moments. Kenny Omega did the Rise of the Terminator. That's pretty cool. I like the whole setup to it, you know. For those of you that don't understand what I'm saying, the Rise of the Terminator is when he does a Terminator pose, runs around the ropes, and does a tope con hilo, or as they said today, tope con hello. So anyways, that was pretty cool. Adam Page did this suicide dive that just looked nuts. So that was nice. The match ends with Jon Moxley and Kenny Omega picking up a barbed wire baseball bat and a barbed wire broom, respectively, from under the ring. Now, this was just stupid because, like, how did those weapons get there? Now, I understand once in a while Triple H will find his sledgehammer under the ring, but a sledgehammer is something that could foreseeably be used to set up a ring. Maybe you have to hammer down some pins or something to stabilize the ring. You know, maybe that's the justification. Like foldy chairs, you need them. Tables, you might need them. Where are you going to store your shit, right? It's all within the realm of possibility. Now, other things like straight up sadistic weapons have no reason to be there. Just like when they pick up thumbtacks from under the ring. Why are they there? You know, who put them there? But anyways, they picked them up. Pac comes into the ring and takes he kicks Kenny Omega on the head while he's down, right before Jon Moxley's about to destroy him with a bat, and throws away the broom, takes the bat from Moxley and throws it away as well. Then he looks at Jon Moxley and points to his head, basically saying, think about it. Like, we got to win the match, dog. We can't just be DQ'd like this, right? Now, that's cool, right? Pac is portrayed as a guy who's winning, and he wants to perhaps preserve his good record, right? And this is in contrast to Jon Moxley, who is crazy and doesn't give a shit about winning or losing, despite the fact that he cut a promo earlier about the pecking order. So that's an inconsistency, but there's nothing wrong with an inconsistency when it comes to a character that's portrayed as crazy. If anything, that kind of makes sense. Even though JR and Tony tried to present it as if inconsistencies are consistent for a crazy person like Jon Moxley, but on top of that, Tony was saying that, no, this is not inconsistent at all because Jon Moxley, you know, just wants to hurt people, and he is also upset at Pac because he perceives Pac's interference in his feud as being kind of condescending, right? So, long story short, Jon Moxley flips off Pac and then gives him a normal dirty deeds, the paradigm shift, but not the lifting kind, like the regular old boring one, right? He does that and he leaves. Now, I get it. This guy's a loose cannon, whatever, right? But he was moments away from attacking Kenny Omega with a bat. So why didn't he just do that? Why did he just leave? You know, he attacked Pac. He should have. The logical thing would have been he attacks Pac with the DDT, the double underhook DDT, then proceeds to at least try to beat up Kenny. Maybe Kenny gets saved by Adam Page or something, but that's not what happened here. He just did the dirty deeds and left. Pac essentially no soul that got up. He was a little bit dazed and confused. He turned around, ran into a buckshot lariat by Adam Page. Then he staggered to the ropes. Kenny Omega hit the V trigger, and Adam Page hit the dead eye or the last rites or rite of passage, whatever the fuck it's called. Yeah, rite of passage on him, and he was pinned, leading to the team of Pac and Jon Moxley losing to Adam Page and Kenny Omega, which made sense. Kenny Omega has been jobbing a bit, and in order to put this match over, he should win to kind of portray him as someone that has a chance against Jon Moxley, because he already lost one-on-one to Pac, so it's good that he pinned him. Now, What else happened here? Yeah, that was that for that match. And then we had a little, I guess, promo package where the announcers kind of talked about what we're going to see next week. Next week, we're going to see Private Party versus Lucha Brothers. Lucha Brothers is going to win that one. SoCal and Sense versus Dark Order. I guess I missed this. I see. SoCal and Sense versus Dark Order. So now I have to change my pick. SoCal Ancestor is going to have to win just so they can go after the Lucha Bros, which that's kind of weird, but whatever. They said Britt Baker's going to be in action. I said, if this is supposed to draw me into the goddamn broadcast, who gives a shit about Britt Baker? The Young Bucks in action. All right, people like them. I get it. And then Pac versus Moxley, which I think is great because it's two heels wrestling, and that's what wrestling needs. Wrestling needs things beyond good guy versus bad guy. A bit more, you know? And then finally, we had the Philadelphia street fight, which is no different than the Chicago street fight or any other kind of street fight for the AEW Championship. Jericho versus Darby Allin. Now, clearly, like I said, the worst part of this week's episode, except for the Pac Moxley versus Kenny Omega and Adam Page match, the worst part of it was the predictability of all of it, right? Obviously, Jericho's going to win. Darby Allin is a jobber. But he did come off strong. They had like a back and forth type match. Darby Allin was very aggressive. It's almost stupid because Darby Allin cannot throw a punch. Back in the day, back in college, I did some boxing. I'm sure it was pretty good. And I know how to throw a punch, and Darby Allin does not know how to throw a punch. But whatever. He's this lunatic. He's going after Jericho, who is a superior wrestler, the superior entertainer, and the superior man. So he's going to throw these like weird punches just to kind of, you know, make the point that he's just this scrapper, this scrappy little guy, right? The match goes on and on, back and forth. An important part of the match is when Jericho duct tapes Darby Allin's arms behind his back. Now, this should have been the end of the match. He tapes the arms, picks him up by his hair, hits a Judas effect, and then puts him in the walls of Jericho, and Darby Allin's already passed out. So in other words, he knocks him out with the Judas effect and puts him in the walls just to, like, you know, hurt him more, right? And then the match ends like that. But no, that's not what they did here. What they did here was, in my opinion, nearly bury Chris Jericho as the champion that he is. Darby Allin not only fought, but fought very successfully with both arms tied behind his back. Now, I think if I had one arm tied behind my back, I could beat up Darby Allin. So, in what world can Darby Allin with two arms tied behind his back beat up Chris Jericho? It makes no sense. Now, despite this, I will give props to Darby Allin. I am a fair dude. Darby Allin did some really impressive things without the use of his arms. Amongst them, he did a lion salt. Without arms, motherfuckers, he just jumped on the middle rope, did a backflip, and landed relatively awkwardly, but it was good enough, you know? What else? He did like a tope con hilo through the top and middle rope onto Jericho to the outside. He did this like corkscrew, like backflip corkscrew attack on a standing Jericho. That was nice. And I was predicting, and I was right, that he would go for the coffin drop, because the beauty of the coffin drop is that you don't really need your arms, motherfuckers. Yes, he does the little pose, the little coffin pose, but you don't need that. The idea is that he uses like his body for that. You know, it's a very fitting finisher for this guy, whose entire thing is he's reckless, right? It's just a backwards dive. Let's see if it hits, right? And I was excited to see that they were going to go for it. I mean, of course, when I say excited, I mean excited in the context of this match, which was kind of foolish that this guy even has a chance with both arms tied behind his back. So he drop kicks a chair into Jericho's face, and he goes up to the top rope for the coffin drop. And then this is where everything falls apart. Jack Swagger comes in and punches him off the turnbuckle. Now, the implications would suggest that if it wasn't for Jack Swagger, Darby Allin would at least have a chance to hit the coffin drop and win the title. Now, this could be used to set up a mini feud between Darby Allin and Jack Swagger, only to serve as Jack Swagger's first squash in his debut match. That would be kind of nice, because it would be good to see a gigantic Jack Swagger versus this tiny person. Jack Swagger can manhandle him. It'll put Jack Swagger over. Darby Allin can get in a few licks, and that could be good. But the way this match ended was Jericho needs Jack Swagger to beat this jobber, right? Jack Swagger knocks him down. At a certain point in the match, by the way, Jericho hit this clothesline on Darby Allin with his arms tied behind his back, and Darby Allin sold it like a champ. The clothesline looked like it destroyed him. Anyways, he gets knocked down. Jericho puts the walls on him, and through verbal submission, Jericho defeats Darby Allin. Then the rest of the inner circle comes out, and they drink some champagne and celebrate with a little bit of the bubbly, which was pretty cool as a catchphrase only because it got over organically. But you can't don't spam it, all right, motherfuckers? Don't spam it. So overall, this show was, like, the wrestling was okay. In my opinion, it was the worst of their 3 shows. The best one was the first one. But last week's show was also pretty good. This week's show completely sucked. Let's be honest. The matches were decent, but like I said in my last video about that idiot Dave Meltzer, wrestling is about storylines, and an inherent element of storylines is its unpredictable nature. The reason why I started liking wrestling was because when I was a kid, everything that you see for children is good guy beats bad guy, right? And that's nice and rosy, but eventually you get to an age where you're like, oh, that's kind of boring. Like, it's predictable, right? The good guy wins. No, fam. In wrestling, sometimes the bad guy wins. And that's what's beautiful about wrestling. Because you may want Eddie Guerrero, the face, to beat JBL, the heel. But that's not always in the cards. Sometimes JBL beats your hero. The bad guy defeats the good guy. And that's intrinsically what matters about wrestling. That, number one, there's a possibility that the person that you don't expect to win wins. And 2, the overall unpredictable nature. This episode had none of that, right? Except for the unpredictability of Jon Moxley being unpredictable, which in and of itself is predictable, motherfuckers. So that's my point right there. This show sucked for that reason and that reason only. And the atrocious, I don't know why I said it like that, the atrocious ending and finish to the Jericho Darby Allin match. There was no need for Darby to have that much offense with both arms tied behind his back. I understand you want to put him over, but not against Jericho, motherfuckers. He does not get to do this against Jericho. He could have done this maybe next week against Santana or Ortiz, or even better, he could have done this against Sammy Guevara, right? Sammy Guevara tapes his arms behind his back, and Darby Allin does this. Jack Swagger comes and attacks him, and Sammy Guevara hits whatever the fuck his finisher is. I don't even know, probably like some bullshit move, like probably like a striking finisher. This guy sucks. And then that works well. You put over Darby Allin, and you give off the impression that Darby Allin would have been able to beat Sammy Guevara, but for interference, but not against Jericho, who's your champion. Now, why am I supposed to believe that Jericho would have like a good match with Cody? Cody should be able to put him away, no problem, right? Like, he could barely beat Darby Allin. So anyways, that was the worst part of the show. This week, this show disappointed me. And I've been making, over my last few videos, these indirect comparisons. But now, they're going to be direct. So we're going to compare shows in 1 week. After this video, I'm going to make an NXT review. And I'm going to compare that to AEW. I haven't watched NXT yet, so I'm going to do that. I'm going to make the comparison at the NXT video, which I will make either tonight or tomorrow. But as compared to Raw, which I'm going to compare AEW to all the shows. As compared to Raw this week, AEW did way better than Raw. Raw was stupid, as you can see in my review on this week's Raw right here on the channel. But not only was this show, in my opinion, despite all the criticisms that I had, better than Raw, because Raw ended with Seth Rollins burning a table, and he burned it down. I guess when he says burn it down, he just means tables. Anyways, but AEW Dark was really good. Even though that was taped last week, we're going to count it as this week's programming, motherfuckers. So, thus far, AEW has the edge. We'll see with NXT, you know? By far, AEW has the edge because Raw was just garbage. So, there you have it. That's going to be all for this video. Now, all of y'alls can kiss my ass and go fuck yourselves.